I was standing outside a cheap motel room, listening to my wife laugh with another man. And in that moment, it wasn't the betrayal that hit me first, though that was there, a dull ache under my ribs. It was the sheer, breathtaking carelessness of it all. Listening to the muffled sounds of my life being dismantled, I didn't feel rage. I didn't even feel heartbroken. I just felt this cold, terrifyingly calm resolve wash over me. This isn't just a story about getting even. This is the story of how I took the man who helped my wife burn our family to the ground and erased him. I didn't just make him leave. I made him disappear forever. To really get the fall, you have to see the height we fell from. On paper, my life was perfect. I'm Alex. I'd been married to Sarah for 12 years. We had 2 amazing kids, a beautiful house in a quiet neighborhood. The kind of life people post online with hashtags like #blessed. I'm a data analyst. My world revolves around patterns and numbers, things making sense. My job is to look at a sea of chaos and find the story hidden inside. A skill that, as it turns out, was about to become very, very valuable. Sarah was my total opposite, which I always thought was our strength. She was a marketing executive, a whirlwind of charisma and energy. Where I was quiet, she was the life of the party. She filled our house with laughter and people, and I loved her for it. We were supposed to be a team. I was the anchor, she was the sails. Or at least, that's what I believed. The first thread that unraveled everything was her phone. For years, that thing lived on the kitchen counter. The kids used it. I used it. It was just there. Then suddenly, it was glued to her hand, locked, and always angled away from me. If I walked into the room, she'd quickly swipe away from whatever she was looking at. When I'd ask, she'd just laugh it off. Just office gossip. You'd be bored to tears. Then came the late nights. Work dinners, she'd say. Networking. It made sense. Her job was demanding. But then it was 2, then 3 nights a week. She'd come home smelling of expensive wine and a perfume that wasn't hers, buzzing with this weird, wired energy. The kids noticed. Is Mom working late again? My 8-year-old asked me one night, and her face was just this little portrait of disappointment. I covered for her. Of course, I did. Mommy's working hard for us, I'd say, gesturing around our beautiful, hollow-feeling home. The distance between us became a canyon. Our talks turned into logistics. Who's getting the kids? Did you pay the electric bill? The intimacy, the jokes, the late-night conversations, all gone. It felt like living with a beautiful, polite stranger who just happened to sleep in my bed. I tried. I suggested date nights, weekend trips, anything. But she was always too busy, too tired, too stressed. Then she'd flip it on me. I was being needy. I was being insecure. I needed to trust her more. She was so good at making her guilt my flaw. And I almost believed her. God, I wanted to. My brain was telling me the data didn't add up, but my heart was screaming at me to ignore it. The tipping point came from our own smart home tech. We had a shared family cloud account where our phone photos would automatically upload, mostly pictures of the kids, holidays, you know. One afternoon, I opened the folder on my laptop, and a new batch of photos started syncing. They weren't from her normal phone. They were from a device just labeled iPhone. The first few were just selfies of Sarah in her car. Then, a picture of 2 wine glasses on a table I'd never seen. Then, a man's arm, a distinctive watch on his wrist. My heart started pounding. I kept scrolling, my hand literally shaking, and then I saw it. A photo, clearly taken by Sarah, of a man sleeping in a hotel bed. I didn't recognize him. But the last photo destroyed everything. A selfie of both of them. In a car. She was beaming, a genuine, ecstatic smile I hadn't seen in years, and he was kissing her on the cheek. His face was perfectly clear. Marcus Thorne. A guy I'd met a few times at her company parties. A married man. A man with 3 kids. The world went silent. The only thing I could hear was the blood roaring in my ears. It wasn't just the affair. It was the audacity of it. The carelessness to sync this to our B family account. It was the look on her face. The happiness she'd found with him while she was gaslighting me. I just stared at his smiling, smug face. The grief was a tidal wave. But after it passed, something else took its place. Something cold and sharp. The analytical part of my brain, the part that sees patterns and builds strategies, took over. I didn't want to scream. I didn't want to cry. I wanted to understand. I downloaded every single photo, every piece of this horrifying new dataset, and saved it to an encrypted hard drive. Then I closed the laptop. The emotions could wait. First, I needed a plan. A divorce was a given. That was just paperwork. But for him, for Marcus, just leaving our lives would be too easy. For him, I wanted total obliteration. The days that followed were an exercise in pure self-control. I became an actor in my own life, playing the part of the slightly clueless husband. I made breakfast, asked Sarah about work, and pretended I knew nothing, all while a cold, relentless process was running in the background of my mind. The human part of me wanted to confront them, to throw the pictures in their faces. But the analyst in me knew that was a mistake. An emotional confrontation is messy, unpredictable. It would give her a chance to spin the story, to play the victim. I wouldn't give her, or him, the satisfaction. My revenge wouldn't be a bomb going off. It would be a quiet, systematic demolition. My first call wasn't to a lawyer. It was to a private investigator, a guy named Mr. Jones. We met in a sterile coffee shop. He was an older guy, maybe late 50s, with tired eyes that didn't miss a thing. "What can I do for you?" he asked. "Information," I said, and pushed a photo of Marcus across the table. "I know who he is. I need to know everything else. Where he eats, where he banks, his professional reputation, his wife's name, his kids' names. I want his hobbies, his vices, his secrets. I want a complete schematic of his life. Find every weak point." Jones glanced at the photo, then back at me. He saw the look in my eyes. He didn't ask why. He just nodded. "This is a deep dive. It'll be expensive." "Find what I need," I told him. "And money is no object." For the next 3 weeks, I lived a double life. Dad and husband by day, spy master by night. Jones's reports came in as encrypted emails. And with each one, the picture of Marcus Thorne came into focus. On the surface, the man was a pillar of the community, senior VP at a prestigious wealth management firm, sprawling mansion in the rich part of town, married to a woman named Eleanor, whose father just happened to be a founding partner at Marcus's firm. 3 kids in the most exclusive private school in the state. He was on a hospital charity board, an elder at his church. His entire public image was built on integrity and trust. But Jones dug deeper and found the cracks. First, Marcus was a gambler, not a friendly poker game, a high-stakes, online sports bettor. He was good enough to stay afloat, but the records Jones pulled showed a pattern of huge risks. The man whose entire career was built on stability was secretly an adrenaline junkie. The second crack was his career. His father-in-law got him the job, and Marcus was deeply insecure about it. Jones uncovered whispers that Marcus stole credit from junior analysts and pushed his clients into risky investments to boost his own numbers. He was a man desperate to look like a genius. The final crack was the foundation of his whole life. His job, his house, his social status, it was all tied to his wife and her family. He wasn't just married to Eleanor. He was employed by her father. His entire life was a house of cards, and he'd just handed me a lit match. I spent a whole weekend studying that dossier. I saw all the weak points. My plan started to form not as one single act, but as a 3-phase demolition. I wouldn't have to touch him directly. I would just create the conditions for his own world to spit him out. Phase 1. His career. I couldn't just call his boss. An anonymous tip from a jealous husband gets ignored. I had to be smarter. I bought a domain name, The Steward's Ledger, and built a professional-looking website about financial ethics. I spent a month writing genuinely insightful articles, building a small, credible following online. I became a trusted voice. Then, I published my masterpiece, a case study called The Golden Boy Paradox. I never used his name, but I used every single detail from Jones's report: the family-affiliated firm, the exact type of shady investments, the psychological profile of a man with a hidden gambling habit. I laid out the whole architecture of his professional risk. Then, I paid for a targeted ad campaign to make sure that article popped up in the social media feeds of every single person at his firm and every financial journalist in the city. I didn't have to accuse him of anything. I just had to plant the seed. Phase 2. Make the seed sprout. While his firm was buzzing about that eerily specific article, I sent an anonymous email to his company's head of compliance. It was short, professional, and devastating. I have reason to believe a senior VP, Marcus Thorne, may be engaged in high-risk online gambling. I am concerned his personal exposure could compromise his duties to our clients. You may want to look into his recent portfolio allocations. I didn't include proof. I didn't need to. The article, plus the email, was enough. The compliance department, terrified of lawsuits, would have no choice but to start a quiet but brutal internal review. Phase 3. The kill shot. This one was personal. It was designed to shatter his image as a Christian family man. I waited until I knew the internal review was underway and he was starting to sweat. Then I prepared a package. No letter, just high-resolution prints of the most damning photos from the cloud account. The kiss in the car, him asleep in the hotel bed. I sent 2 identical packages by courier, one to the senior pastor at his church, the other to his wife Eleanor Thorne at their home address. I had now set a fire under his career, his marriage, and his reputation. All I had to do was wait for it all to burn down. The collapse was faster and more complete than I ever could have imagined. The machine I had set in motion just ground him into dust. Jones reported first. The internal review at Marcus's firm had found everything: the gambling, the shady client deals. He was given a choice: resign immediately and sign an NDA, or get fired and have them report him to the financial authorities, which would end his career forever. He resigned. Within a week, his photo and bio were gone from the company website. The social collapse was just as quick. The pastor at his church was horrified. Marcus was quietly asked to step down as an elder, and from his charity work, the gossip mill did the rest. His perfect image was shattered. But the final blow was the one that landed at home. Eleanor Thorne got her package. I can only imagine that moment. She didn't scream or cry. She got cold. She got calculated. She was her father's daughter. She called her family's lawyer, emptied their joint bank accounts, and since her family trust owned the mansion, she had Marcus served with an eviction notice. In the span of about 10 days, he was fired, kicked out of his church, and kicked out of his home. He was left with nothing but his car and whatever was in his wallet. He tried calling Sarah, panicking, begging for help. But her own world was about to break, and she had nothing left to give. With Marcus gone, it was time. I waited for the kids to be at their grandparents'. I found Sarah in the kitchen, scrolling on her phone, completely oblivious. I didn't yell. I just placed a thick folder on the counter in front of her. "What's this?" she asked, annoyed. "Our future," I said. She opened it. The first page was the divorce petition. Her face went white. The next section had the dates, times, and motel receipts from her affair. The last page was a 1-page summary of Marcus Thorne's new life: unemployed, evicted, exiled. She stared at that last page. Her mouth just opened and closed. She looked up at me, and for the first time, I saw real fear in her eyes. You did this?" she stammered. "No," I said, my voice completely flat. "We did this. Your choices, his choices, my choices. This is just the logical outcome. You and he built a life, and now it's gone. And so are we." I told her the divorce would be quiet, for the kids' sake, but it would be on my terms. I had all the leverage, and she knew it. There was no fight left. The divorce went exactly as planned. I got the house and primary custody. Sarah moved into a small apartment across town. And Marcus Thorne? He vanished. I mean, truly vanished. His social media is gone. You can't find him online. Jones did one last check and found out he'd sold his car for cash and just left the state. He was erased from the world he knew, a ghost made of his own bad decisions. I didn't just get him out of my life. I used the tools of his own world reputation, trust, image, to unmake him. Sometimes, late at night, I think about what I did. There's no joy in it, no thrill of victory, just a quiet, cold satisfaction. It wasn't about feeling good. It was about restoring balance. They started a fire that was meant to burn down my whole world. I just aimed the flames back where they came from. I didn't want him punished. I wanted him erased, and I got exactly what I wanted. So, that's my story. And now I have to ask you, was this a calculated act of justice, or did I go too far? What would you have done? Let me know what you think in the comments below. I really do read them all. And if you think stories about karma and consequences are compelling, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for listening. The line between right and wrong can get pretty blurry. The only thing that's certain is that our choices build the world we live in, and sometimes they build our ruin. Until next time, be careful what you build.